They laughed at him until he won. Have you ever felt like giving up? Like no matter how hard you try, things just aren't working out? You feel tired and defeated. Maybe it's time to just throw in the towel and quit. Well, if you're feeling that way, then today is the day to turn it around. Because we are going to look at someone who felt the exact same way you do right now. But he didn't give up. And guess what? He ended up making all those who laughed at him cry. So stay tuned because we're about to start. This is a story of a man named Chris Gardner. Chris was born in 1966 in a small town in North Carolina. His parents were unwed teenagers who couldn't take care of him, so they had to send him to live with his maternal grandparents. Growing up, he suffered a lot of racial discrimination, and being poor didn't help either. In fact, there was one time when he and his brother had to wear the same jacket during winter. But despite having to go through all this, Chris was a bright kid. He studied hard, got good grades, and even became the captain of his school's wrestling team. After graduating from high school, he joined the United States Navy, where he served for 6 years. After leaving the Navy, he wanted to become a stockbroker. So he started working at Bear Stearns, an American multinational investment bank and financial services company that operates globally. But after working there for some time, he was fired because there was a policy that prohibited employees from dating each other. And he broke that policy by starting a relationship with a coworker. However, he soon found another job at a brokerage firm called Dean Witter. In the beginning, everything seemed fine. But soon enough, Chris started to notice that the manager of the office was racist towards him. In fact, when he would enter the office, people would stare at him. Some would even get up from their seats and leave the room. Moreover, the manager would often insult him and talk down to him. But despite all this mistreatment, Chris continued to work hard. He studied hard to learn the business. In fact, he would even come into work early and leave late just so he could learn more about the business. However, despite all his hard work, Chris wasn't able to make any sales. And after 3 months of not making any sales, he was fired. But still, he was determined to succeed. So he decided to start his own business. For that, he enrolled in a training course to become an investment broker. But unfortunately, he was unable to complete the course because he ran out of money. But even then, he was determined to succeed. So he decided to take whatever work he could find to support himself while he pursued his real goal of becoming a stockbroker. One day, he got a job working for the San Francisco mayor's office. While working there, he met Willie Mays, a famous baseball player who told him about a job opening at his company. Willie recommended Chris for the job, but Chris didn't get the job. However, Willie still helped him out by giving him a position as a security guard at the San Francisco Giants baseball stadium. Meanwhile, Chris's personal life was also in shambles. He was living in a homeless shelter along with his 2-year-old son. In fact, his son once asked him, "Dad, why doesn't God help us?" And hearing his son say that, Chris realized that his son had lost his faith in God. As a result, he promised his son that they would never have to live in a homeless shelter again. He saved money from his salary and started investing in stocks. Soon enough, his investments started to pay off, and he made a significant amount of money. But unfortunately, he lost all his money due to the greed of his girlfriend. Hearing that, his 2-year-old son said, "You don't need that money anyway." And seeing the maturity of his son, Chris felt ashamed of himself for failing to provide for his family. Determined to make something out of his life, he enrolled in an exclusive training program called the Dean Witter Financial Group. This program was designed to produce well-rounded brokers who could handle all aspects of the job. But there was a problem. The program was extremely difficult to get into because only a few people were accepted every year. Moreover, since he was black, it was almost impossible for him to get in. But he was desperate to succeed, so he applied anyway, and to his surprise, he was accepted into the training program. However, he was still considered an underdog, and the other trainees made fun of him behind his back, calling him names like homeless guy and welfare man. They thought he wouldn't be able to handle the pressure of the job, but they were wrong. Chris excelled in the training program. He was eager to learn and was willing to put in the extra effort to succeed. He was also very determined to prove everyone who doubted him wrong. He graduated from the program at the top of his class and was offered a job at the company. But there was one problem. He needed a rich client to invest in order to get a loan to buy a house. So he started looking for a rich client. One day, he met a wealthy widow named Dorothy Hanna. He impressed her with his knowledge of the stock market, and she agreed to invest $1 million with him. With the help of Dorothy, he was finally able to get a loan and buy a house for himself and his son. Now that he had a place to call home, he could focus on his work. He worked hard to grow Dorothy's investment, and soon enough, he was managing over $7 million in assets. He also became one of the youngest vice presidents in the company's history. But unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. The stock market crashed, and Chris lost Dorothy's money. He was devastated, but he knew he needed to make things right. He called Dorothy and told her about his mistake. At first, she was furious. She couldn't believe that she had lost all her life savings. But Chris apologized and promised to make it up to her. He also promised to make her more money than she had ever made in her life. Dorothy was moved by Chris's sincerity, and she forgave him. She even gave him another chance to manage her money. This time, however, she set strict rules. She told him that she wanted him to make her $1 million in profits within 5 years. If he didn't meet her target, then he would lose his job. Chris was nervous, but he was determined to make Dorothy proud. He studied the market and came up with a plan. He invested in a variety of stocks and bonds, and soon enough, he started to see profits. However, he was still far from his goal. Just when he was about to give up, he got a call from one of his clients. The client wanted to invest $20 million in stocks. Chris was hesitant at first, but he knew that this was his chance to make Dorothy's target. He took the client's money and invested it wisely. In the next few months, Chris made Dorothy $2 million. Today, Chris Gardner's story is an inspiration to millions of people around the world. He is a true example of how determination and hard work can help you achieve your goals. No matter how difficult your situation may seem, never give up. Keep pushing forward, and one day you will succeed. As for those who laughed at him, they probably don't even remember who he is. But Chris Gardner does. He remembers all the people who doubted him, and he uses their laughter to motivate him to succeed. If you're ever feeling down, just remember the story of Chris Gardner. He was homeless, had a 2-year-old son, and was laughed at by everyone. But he didn't let that stop him from succeeding. So don't let anyone laugh at you. Use their laughter as fuel to help you achieve your dreams. And hey, don't forget to show some love. Tap that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for more videos just like this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.